Hello Midnights. We hope you enjoy our stories. Next one, The Whispering Plank, Unveiling the Enigmas of the Ouija Board. Let us know where you are listening from and don't forget to subscribe. While exploring the history, mechanisms, and folklore surrounding the Ouija board provides a fascinating insight into human psychology and cultural beliefs, it is crucial to conclude with a distinct and unambiguous warning for anyone considering using it. The Ouija board, a simple planchette and a marked plank of wood, has for over a century held a profound grip on the human imagination. From parlor game to alleged portal to the beyond, its oscillating mystique has fueled countless stories, sparked fervent debates, and etched itself into the very fabric of popular culture. To truly understand the Ouija, one must delve beyond the sensational and explore the intricate tapestry of its history, its purported mechanisms, and the enduring myths and tales that swirl around its enigmatic presence. A brief history of the talking board. The human desire to communicate with the deceased or unseen forces is a near-universal trait, evident in practices stretching back millennia. Across various ancient cultures, methods existed for automatic writing or receiving messages through the movement of objects, driven by unseen hands. These practices, often involving suspended instruments or moving tables, aimed to bridge the divide between the living and the dead. In the mid-19th century Western world, the spiritualist movement provided fertile ground for new innovations in spirit communication. As people sought comfort and connection with deceased loved ones, particularly after periods of profound loss, various methods for receiving messages from the other side gained traction. Early talking boards emerged from this demand, with individuals improvising methods to capture alleged spirit messages. The commercial era of the Ouija board began in 1890 with its patenting. It was quickly commercialized and popularized by savvy marketers who gave it its distinctive name. While claims were made about the name's ancient origins, it was likely coined to sound exotic and mysterious. Its appeal lay in its accessibility. Anyone could buy one and, theoretically, engage in spirit communication without needing a professional medium. This widespread availability, coupled with the era's fascination with the supernatural, quickly propelled the Ouija into homes across the globe, especially during times of uncertainty and collective grief. The mechanism of mystery: how does it work? Despite the deeply held beliefs of many users, the scientific consensus is that the Ouija board operates on the principle of the ideomotor effect. This doesn't mean the experience isn't real for those who use it, but rather that the observed phenomena stem from psychological and physiological processes within the participants themselves, rather than external spiritual entities. Let's delve deeper into how the ideomotor effect influences the Ouija board experience. Subtle, unconscious muscular movements. The planchette, being lightweight and designed for smooth gliding, is highly sensitive to even the most minute, unconscious muscle contractions in the hands and arms of those touching it. Even when individuals genuinely try not to move it, these imperceptible pressures accumulate and transmit force, causing the planchette to shift. The human neuromuscular system is constantly active, making small, involuntary adjustments, and it's these minute movements that guide the planchette. Expectation and suggestion. The power of suggestion is a crucial factor. If participants expect the planchette to move to a certain letter or word, their subconscious mind can subtly influence their muscular responses in that direction. This effect intensifies in a group setting, where collective expectation or unspoken desires can create a powerful, shared ideomotor response. For example, if someone secretly hopes for a particular answer, their fingers might unconsciously exert more pressure towards the corresponding letters. Cognitive bias and pattern recognition. Our brains are wired to find patterns and meaning, even in randomness. When the planchette spells out seemingly ambiguous or random sequences of letters, participants often engage in confirmation bias, interpreting these movements in a way that confirms their existing beliefs or desires. They may overlook random or nonsensical spellings while focusing on anything that appears coherent or meaningful. This allows individuals to construct meaning from the output, even if the coherence is largely projected onto it. Subconscious knowledge and cryptomnesia. In some intriguing instances, the messages spelled out by the Ouija board can originate from the subconscious knowledge of one or more participants. This phenomenon, where forgotten memories or learned information resurface but are mistakenly perceived as new, externally derived insights, is often cited. Research has demonstrated that individuals using a Ouija board can access more correct answers when they believe the source is external, suggesting the involvement of unconscious cognitive processes. Loss of agency and dissociation. A key psychological aspect of the Ouija experience is the profound feeling of loss of agency. Participants often genuinely feel they are not moving the planchette, leading them to attribute its movements to an external, often supernatural, source. This dissociation from one's own actions can be incredibly powerful, contributing to the sense of mystery and awe surrounding the board. It's a prime example of how the human mind can construct narratives around unconscious physical phenomena. While these scientific explanations offer a robust and rational framework for understanding the board's movements, they don't diminish the subjective power and psychological impact of the Ouija experience for those who use it. The emotional intensity, the shared belief, and the suspense of the unknown can create a truly profound and sometimes unsettling psychological event, regardless of the underlying mechanism. The myths surrounding the Ouija board aren't just random tales, they reflect deep-seated human fears, cultural anxieties, and psychological phenomena. They often function as cautionary tales, reinforcing societal boundaries around the unknown and forbidden. 1. The demonic gateway and possessive entities, the ultimate fear. This is the cornerstone of Ouija board mythology, portraying the board as a dangerous, thinly veiled portal through which malevolent, often demonic, entities can cross into our reality. Psychological mechanisms. This myth taps into confirmation bias and selective perception. If someone believes in demons and expects the Ouija board to summon them, any ambiguous or frightening message, or any strange environmental stimuli, for example, a draft, a creaking floorboard, a distant noise, will be interpreted through that lens. Hypervigilance in a tense atmosphere can cause individuals to notice every minor anomaly. Group hysteria or social contagion can also play a role, where one person's fear or interpretation influences others, leading to a collective amplification of perceived threat. Expectancy effects mean that if one expects to be possessed or experience poltergeist activity, the mind can unconsciously manifest physiological or perceptual changes consistent with those expectations. Societal role. This myth serves as a powerful cautionary tale against dabbling in the occult or forbidden knowledge. It reinforces religious doctrines that warn against divination and spirit contact, helping to protect established belief systems. It also acts as a cultural outlet for anxieties about loss of control, vulnerability to unseen forces, and the consequences of transgressing boundaries. In times of social upheaval, such myths can offer a simple, albeit terrifying, explanation for complex problems by blaming external, malevolent forces. Anxiety/vulnerabilities tapped, the fear of the unknown and loss of control, religious guilt or the fear of inviting evil, and the terrifying prospect of mental instability or psychological breakdown. 2. The graveyard rule and profane locations, respect for the dead. This myth underscores beliefs about the sanctity of certain spaces and the potential danger of disturbing the deceased. Psychological mechanisms. This taps into the power of suggestion and priming. If a group is told playing in a graveyard is dangerous, their minds are primed to perceive danger. The inherently eerie atmosphere of such locations, darkness, silence, decaying structures, can trigger arousal and anxiety, making normal environmental sounds seem sinister. The fight-or-flight response can heighten senses and distort perceptions, causing individuals to misinterpret stimuli. Societal role. This myth reinforces cultural norms around respect for the dead in sacred spaces. It acts as a social deterrent to disruptive or disrespectful behavior in places of mourning. It also speaks to a broader human need to categorize and manage the spiritual landscape, designating certain areas as dangerous or off-limits. Anxiety/vulnerabilities tapped, fear of death and the afterlife, the fear of angering the dead through disrespect, and a sense of vulnerability to unseen forces in specific, charged locations. 3. The planchette's pursuit and aggressive movements, the spirit's willpower. This myth attributes independent, forceful movements to the spirit, challenging the ideomotor explanation. Psychological mechanisms. The perception of aggressive movement can be a result of unconscious exaggeration of the ideomotor effect, especially in a state of high arousal. If one person unconsciously pushes harder due to fear or excitement, the rapid movement can be perceived as an external force, leading to a feedback loop where heightened fear causes more unconscious pushing. Confirmation bias kicks in. If a threatening message is spelled, any sudden movement is attributed to angry intent. The sudden release of fingers from the planchette due to fear can also make it appear to fly off with unexpected force. Societal role. These tales dramatize the interaction, making the spirit a more active and formidable antagonist in the narrative. They add a thrilling, unpredictable element that makes the stories more compelling and memorable. They also underline the perceived danger of challenging or provoking entities. Anxiety/vulnerabilities tapped, fear of physical harm from an unseen entity, the terrifying loss of control over the planchette's movement, and the dread of impending doom implied by aggressive actions. 4. The goodbye conundrum, rituals of containment. This ritualistic myth highlights humanity's need for order and control over the unknown, emphasizing the importance of proper procedure. Psychological mechanisms. This taps into the human need for closure and control. Performing the goodbye ritual provides a psychological sense of safety and completion, reducing anxiety. Conversely, not performing it leaves the mind open to doubt and fear, leading to post-event rumination where any subsequent negative event, a bad dream, a creaking house, is retrospectively attributed to the incomplete session. Confirmation bias. The ritual acts as a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you must say goodbye or something bad will happen, then if you don't, your anxiety will increase, leading you to interpret normal occurrences as bad things. Societal role. It's a common element in folklore and magic, a way to contain perceived supernatural power. It reinforces the idea that there are rules to engaging with the supernatural, and breaking them has consequences, acting as a behavioral constraint. Anxiety/vulnerabilities tapped. Fear of lingering, unwanted presence, dread of negative energy or bad luck, and the burden of responsibility for having left the door open. 5. The warning of the Z, and other ominous signals, cryptic forebodings. These specific warnings add a layer of insider knowledge and a sense of impending doom. Psychological mechanisms. The perception of patterns in random or unconscious movements is key. The Z could be a result of unconscious repetitive movements from one or more participants under stress, or simply the path of least resistance for the planchette. Once the idea of Z means danger is established, apophenia, seeing meaningful patterns in random data, and pareidolia, seeing images or hearing sounds in random stimuli, can cause participants to interpret ambiguous movements as a clear Z or other sinister symbols. The fear of these specific symbols then triggers further anxiety and the fight-or-flight response. Societal role. These specific codes become part of the shared lore of Ouija users, adding to the mystique and providing a sense of expert knowledge for those initiated into the tales. They enhance the thrill of the unknown by providing specific rules for interpreting supernatural communication. Anxiety/vulnerabilities tapped. Fear of deception or trickery by a malevolent entity, the dread of learning terrible truths, and vulnerability to psychological mind games. 6. The daughter or little girl deception, the ultimate betrayal. This myth is particularly insidious because it plays on our empathy and protective instincts. Psychological mechanisms. This taps into emotional manipulation and cognitive dissonance. The initial innocence evokes sympathy, lowering defenses. As the messages turn sinister, the discrepancy between the initial innocent child persona and the later malevolent actions creates cognitive dissonance, making the experience more unsettling and memorable. It's a form of psychological manipulation by the perceived entity, where initial goodness makes later badness harder to process, leading to deep distress. It also plays on the inherent human desire to help or protect children. Societal role. This myth highlights the danger of trusting the unknown, even when it appears benign. It functions as a warning against being too easily deceived, especially by what appears vulnerable or harmless. It's a classic trope of the wolf in sheep's clothing applied to the supernatural. Anxiety/vulnerabilities tapped. Fear of deception and betrayal, emotional vulnerability to manipulative tactics, and profound psychological torment caused by a slow, insidious shift from innocence to malevolence. 7. Specific entities and their legends, expanding beyond generic demons. While demons are the catch-all, specific entity types have also become part of Ouija lore. Zozo, or Zaza, Mama, Oz, Abacus. This is one of the most prominent specific Ouija board entities in modern folklore. Accounts describe Zozo as a malevolent, trickster spirit who often announces himself with repeated Z's or by spelling his own name. He is often associated with a feeling of immense dread, shadow figures, and an oppressive atmosphere. His appearance is frequently linked to aggressive planchette movements, obscenities, and threats, and he is said to be extremely difficult to banish, sometimes leaving users feeling haunted. 8. The curse of the board itself. Beyond the spirits, some myths assert that the board itself can become cursed or imbued with negative energy if used improperly, especially if a malevolent entity has been contacted or if the session was not properly closed. Destroying the board. A common myth is that a cursed Ouija board cannot simply be thrown away. It is believed that burning it is highly dangerous, as it might release any trapped spirits, potentially causing severe disturbances or allowing the entity to attach to those who burned it. Folklore suggests specific, ritualistic ways to dispose of a cursed board, often involving breaking it into pieces, sprinkling it with holy water, and burying it. Common rules of using Ouija boards. According to popular belief and folklore, despite scientific explanations for its operation, a rigid set of rules has emerged around Ouija board use within its subculture and popular folklore. These rules are less about official game instructions and more about perceived safety precautions and proper etiquette for interacting with potentially dangerous supernatural entities. They are often passed down orally, contributing significantly to the board's mystique and the fear surrounding it. Here are the commonly cited rules, presented precisely as they are understood in popular belief, often with implied consequences for breaking them. 1. Never play alone. It is widely believed that playing the Ouija board by oneself is incredibly dangerous. The rationale is that a lone player lacks the collective energy of a group to control the planchette, and is more psychologically vulnerable to influence or perceived possession by a malevolent entity without the grounding presence of others. 2. Always end the session by saying goodbye. This is arguably the most crucial rule. Before disengaging from the board, the planchette must be moved to the word goodbye on the board. This act is seen as formally closing the portal or door to the spirit world, ensuring that no entities linger or follow the participants. Failure to do so is believed to leave the connection open, inviting unwanted spiritual attention or attachment. 3. Never ask when you or anyone else will die. This is a firm taboo. Asking about death dates is considered rude, tempting fate, or inviting a malevolent spirit to give a terrifying, and potentially self-fulfilling, prophecy. It taps into profound human anxieties about mortality. 4. Never ask for a physical sign or proof. This rule warns against directly challenging or provoking a spirit to manifest physically beyond the planchette's movement. Asking for a knock, a light to flicker, or an object to move is believed to invite the spirit to exert power in the physical world, which could be dangerous and escalate supernatural phenomena. 5. Never use the board in a graveyard, hospital, or place of tragic death. As detailed in the myths, these locations are thought to be saturated with restless or malevolent energies. Using the board there is believed to make it easier to attract powerful, unstable, or malevolent spirits who might be drawn to the board. 6. Do not allow the planchette to go to the four corners of the board repeatedly. If the planchette consistently moves to all four corners of the board in a repetitive pattern, it is widely interpreted as a sign that a malevolent or trickster spirit is present and attempting to escape the board or signal its malevolence. This is considered a serious warning to end the session immediately. 7. Do not allow the planchette to count down numbers or go through the alphabet backwards, similar to the four corners rule. If the planchette counts down from 9 to 0 or spells out the alphabet backwards, ZYX, it is also seen as a sign of a negative or demonic entity trying to break free or indicate its power. This is another strong signal to end the session. 8. Be polite and respectful. Treat any communicating entity with respect, even if you are frightened. Asking rude or offensive questions, making jokes at the spirit's expense, or showing disrespect is believed to anger the spirit, potentially turning a neutral or even benevolent entity into a malevolent one, or simply provoking an already negative one. 9. Take everything the board says with a grain of salt. This rule acknowledges that spirits, like people, can lie or try to deceive. Users are cautioned not to believe every message, especially if it's frightening or nonsensical. This rule acts as a psychological safeguard, providing an escape clause for disturbing information. 10. Do not burn the Ouija board. If a Ouija board is deemed cursed or too dangerous, it is believed that simply burning it is highly dangerous. Burning it is thought to release any trapped spirits, potentially causing severe disturbances or allowing the entity to attach to the individuals who burned it. Folklore suggests specific, ritualistic ways to dispose of a cursed board, often involving breaking it into pieces, sprinkling it with holy water, and burying it. 11. Never leave the planchette on the board unattended. Leaving the planchette on the board is seen as leaving the door open to the spirit world, allowing entities to enter or linger without supervision, potentially causing problems. The planchette should always be removed and stored separately from the board. 12. Choose a positive and sober mindset. Many believe that one should only use the Ouija board when in a positive frame of mind, emotionally stable, and completely sober. Negative emotions, fear, sadness, anger, or being under the influence of drugs/alcohol are thought to lower one's spiritual defenses, making one more susceptible to negative entities. These rules, while rooted in folklore rather than scientific evidence, provide a framework for approaching a perceived dangerous activity. For believers, they are vital safety precautions. For skeptics, they are fascinating insights into the psychological processes that shape the Ouija experience and the enduring power of belief in the supernatural. The Ouija board's journey through public perception is a fascinating case study in how cultural narratives, scientific understanding, and media influence can completely transform an object's meaning. Late 19th century, early 20th century, 1890s, 1920s, parlor game and family fun. Context: the height of spiritualism, a desire for contact with the dead after significant historical events, and a general fascination with the supernatural. Marketing: advertisements explicitly portrayed the Ouija board as a harmless, intriguing, and even somewhat magical parlor game. It was promoted as a way to answer questions about the past, present, and future and to find out what the future holds. Families were depicted playing it together, often with smiles. It was seen as a novelty, a source of entertainment, and a low-cost alternative to professional mediums. The word mystery was used positively, evoking wonder rather than dread. Public view: generally viewed as innocent fun, a curiosity, or a semi-serious tool for fortune-telling. While some religious figures issued warnings, it didn't carry the widespread stigma of being demonic. It was a widely adopted product for the burgeoning middle class. Mid-20th century, 1930s, 1960s, curiosity and fad. Context: spiritualism declined in popularity, but the board remained a popular novelty item. Periods of global conflict and economic hardship likely sustained some interest in seeking answers or contact with lost loved ones. A major toy company acquired the rights in the mid-1960s. Marketing: continued to be sold as a mystifying oracle or a talking board, often found in the games section of toy stores. It was marketed to a broader audience, including teenagers and young adults, as a party game. For a time, it reportedly outsold other popular board games. Public view: still largely seen as harmless entertainment, a bit quirky, or a fun way to prank friends. The nascent horror association began to subtly form through anecdotal urban legends, but it wasn't yet a mainstream perception. Late 20th century, 1970s, 1990s, demonic portal and occult danger. Context: the rise of modern horror cinema and the satanic panic. The 1970s saw a cultural shift towards more explicit portrayals of the occult in media. Key event: a highly influential horror film released in the early 1970s definitively linked the board to demonic possession, irrevocably transforming its public image. This film explicitly depicted a character becoming possessed after using the board, cementing its association with terrifying supernatural threats. Public view: rapidly transitioned from a fun game to a dangerous, demonic tool. Religious organizations intensified their warnings. A widespread moral panic in the 1980s, often referred to as the Satanic Panic, further solidified this image, as the board was frequently cited in sensationalized stories about cults, witchcraft, and demonic activity. This period saw the proliferation of urban legends about Ouija board sessions gone wrong. 21st century, 2000s, present, horror trope and psychological intrigue. Context: increased skepticism towards the supernatural, but also a continued fascination with horror and the paranormal. The internet provides a new platform for sharing stories and debunking myths. Marketing: while still sold as a board game, its primary cultural recognition is as a horror icon. Recent film franchises continue to capitalize on its established demonic reputation. Public view: divided. Many view it solely as a horror trope, a piece of folklore, or a scary game to play for thrills. Skeptics point to the ideomotor effect as the sole explanation. However, a significant portion of the population, influenced by popular culture and personal anecdotes, still holds genuine fear and belief in its supernatural capabilities. There's also a growing interest in the psychological aspects, how belief and expectation can shape perception. The Ouija board's shifting reputation is a testament to the dynamic relationship between cultural anxieties, religious beliefs, scientific understanding, and the powerful influence of popular media in shaping collective perception. From harmless parlor game to dread a demonic portal, its story is far from over. Given the powerful psychological effects, the deep-seated cultural anxieties it taps into, and the pervasive folklore surrounding the Ouija board, a distinct warning is paramount for anyone contemplating its use. While scientific understanding attributes the board's movements to the ideomotor effect and other psychological phenomena, the subjective experience for users can be intensely real and deeply unsettling. Proceed with extreme caution. Psychological vulnerability: the Ouija board can exploit existing anxieties, fears, and vulnerabilities. Individuals who are prone to suggestibility, have a history of mental health challenges, or are experiencing emotional distress, grief, trauma, anxiety, may find the experience particularly disturbing and potentially detrimental to their well-being. The power of suggestion: the human mind is remarkably powerful in creating its own reality. Engaging with the Ouija board, especially while believing in its supernatural capacity, can lead to self-fulfilling prophecies, intense fear, and the misinterpretation of normal occurrences as supernatural events. Group dynamics: the shared, often heightened, emotional state within a group playing the Ouija board can amplify fear, leading to collective misinterpretations and even a form of shared delusion. The desire to conform or avoid being seen as a spoilsport can lead individuals to participate in or affirm perceived supernatural events they might otherwise question. No control over outcome: even if one approaches the board as mere entertainment, the intense atmosphere and the unsettling nature of the messages that can be spelled out can cause genuine psychological distress and a sense of losing control, regardless of whether a spirit is truly present. Cultural and religious beliefs: for individuals with strong religious or cultural beliefs warning against spirit contact, using the Ouija board can induce profound guilt, spiritual distress, and fear of demonic influence, leading to lasting psychological harm. In summary, while the Ouija board may appear to be a simple game or a harmless curiosity, its capacity to tap into and exacerbate human fears and psychological vulnerabilities is significant. For these reasons, engaging with the Ouija board carries inherent psychological risks that should not be underestimated.